Esteemed committee members, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Rabbi Noson Shmuel Leiter, Executive Director of Help Rescue Our Children, which opposes child molestation and human trafficking, among other things. I respectfully urge the legislators to oppose SJR 30, which would ensconce what's described as personal reproductive autonomy and freedom into the Constitution. In addition to multiple aforementioned critical considerations, legislators ought to consider how this proposed amendment could eventually be employed by judges to stymie laws aimed at reducing teen pregnancy and even child molestation and human trafficking. For instance, a judge could rule that age of consent laws or anti-trafficking laws unduly limit, quote, reproductive freedom or autonomy. Such a provision could also potentially result in closing crisis pregnancy centers, thereby disproportionately punishing the poor and the disadvantaged. And the same could be said, as was said earlier, regarding parental consent laws. Furthermore, to the extent that this amendment would facilitate recreational abortion, it would embed state-mandated mass killing of babies into the Constitution. As such, it would constitute, number one, the ultimate betrayal of the most innocent and defenseless citizens. Number two, it would contravene the most foundational mandate of government, namely safeguarding innocent life, rendering the role of government in that case beyond their authority. And number three, it would constitute rebellion against our Creator and His law as it applies to all of mankind. Abortion on demand is unquestionably, absolutely prohibited, even according to the most permissive views within the corpus of authentic Judaism. I'd also like to acknowledge the correct critique of attorney Rob Kale, I think it was, who highlighted the disparity in terms of this particular legislation with regards to notice of different sides, that some were notified earlier, and that harks back to the type of discriminatory access issues that were raised earlier in the session by a voting rights activist, perhaps regarding SB 471. I'd also like to point out, if I have time still, that a great Torah sage of the previous century, Rabbi Moshe Soloveitchik, explained why the biblical city of Sodom was destroyed on the very day that Lot, the nephew of Abraham, was appointed to be the Supreme Court Chief Justice. Why was it that when such a straight person, relatively speaking, was appointed as a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Sodom, why was Sodom destroyed that very day? The answer is that when you have a corrupt law, that when you have a straight judge appointed who is going to apply the law without any corruption, so to speak, there's no more hope. In other words, the worst thing that there could be for society is not when there is aberrational evil activity. It's when we ensconce wickedness into law, and especially into the Constitution. Then there is no hope without divine retribution, unless we, of course, repent. And that's, of course, what we're encouraging today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there any questions or comments for the rabbi? See none, appreciate you being here today, sir. Thank you for your time and testimony. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. All the best.